think this is on. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yes, there it is. St. George of Koziba Monastery, which is now inhabited by, Greek Orthodox monks living in isolation. And then from there, we have finally reached Jerusalem. And that is also one of the oldest cities in the world, highly contested city due to a lot of, the three major religions of the world, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, all, claim that, holy things had happened in that city. And so, yeah, certainly it's been a highly contested land. There we go. Okay. And then we finished talking about the Western Wall, or the Wailing Wall, which is the last standing portion of the retaining wall that was known as the Temple Mount. And so if we look at the picture, the previous picture, that somehow did you open the
Probably a downloaded PowerPoint, not the Google.
oh, okay.
Did you upload it?
So it was the one we opened last weekend, but I would have thought it would have auto-updated. But either way, this is fine.
Are you sure I can?
But yeah, you can actually see, where the Temple Mount currently is. They built the giant golden dome. Well, I should say the Muslims built the giant golden dome, over the current Temple Mount. And then you have this would be the retaining wall that would be built around it. So this is the last portion that's still standing after the temple was destroyed in 70 AD. Fun fact.
Did you pray at that wall?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, you can go up to the wall. And yeah, people would, write prayers, and they'd write them on little pieces of scrap paper, and then they'd put it into the wall. And they would consider this to be a very holy place, because this portion of the wall itself was the closest wall to where the Holy of Holies was, which is this portion here. Yeah, that's my brother here, my older brother.
And you have your head covered when you approach.
Yes, yeah, you're supposed to, because they treat this like a synagogue, and so you're supposed to, cover your head as you approach. And then it's tradition that you shouldn't turn your back to the wall either. So, after you pray, then you're supposed to back up and, head out from the area, which I did all the wrong things, by accident. But yeah, so it certainly was a very powerful place.
Keep the wall from being degraded by all the people putting all the papers.
That's a good question.
Probably just
I don't know. I'm sure, rain will dissolve the dissolve the paper. But I don't know if they go around with spackle and,
giant scrapbook.
Yeah, they're probably helping them out, just adding to the mortar.
Yeah. Which, fun fact, does anybody know why Solomon built the temple in this particular location?
Because his father, David, wasn't there something about the, maybe I'm kidding.
David wanted to.
Yeah,
He
he,
never did.
David wanted to build the temple.
So Saul
but
But the
wasn't
only-
there, like, he counted the people, and then, because he counted the people, God judged them
angel, and he stopped at a place, and that was,
That's where the angel approached David, I think. Appeared to David.
is that the same location? That the temple was built?
It's Mount
See
Moriah.
that? I know. What's that?
Mount Moriah.
So yeah, so it's thought that that this is the same location that Abraham took his son Isaac up to, and was going to sacrifice his son on this land here. And Christian tradition states that he even used the slab, the rock slab, that he was going to sacrifice Isaac, and use that as the cornerstone for the temple. Now, where you'll find that in the scripture,
And how many years would be between Abraham and,
so, a lot of those things just get passed down. But that's what I was told, that this is where Abraham had first led his son, and Solomon used it to build the temple. Okay, so we talked about Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem on a colt. And so I'd like to finish Matthew's what happened here? Yes, please. That's weird.
So while you're looking, 2 Chronicles 3 is where it talks about where Solomon built the house of Adonai in Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, where Adonai had appeared to David his father. So that was
Oh, okay.
known to Solomon. So that could have been why he built.
Gotcha.
Is that the same place where the angel stopped?
I'm
Right.
not sure what instance you're referring to.
When David counted the people?
So the scripture we're going to go to, this is Matthew 21, and we're going to read 12 through 17. If someone could read for me. Let's see, Matthew 12. Somebody have it? It's Matthew 21, 12 through 17.
I got it.
Okay.
And Jesus entered the temple and drove out all those who were buying and selling in the temple, and overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who were selling doves. And he said to them, "It is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a robber's den." And the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and the scribes saw the wonderful things that he had done, and the children who were shouting in the temple, "Hosanna to the Son of David," they became indignant and said to him, "Do you hear what these children are saying?" And Jesus said to them, "Yes. Have you never read out of the mouth of infants and nursing babes? You have prepared praise for yourself." And he left them and went out of the city of Bethany and spent the night there.
Great, thank you. So the story of Jesus entering the temple and basically throwing out, these tax collectors and money exchangers, it's a well-known story. Jewish law way back from the time of Moses required that if you're going to be going and basically doing your sacrifice at the temple, that they required a half shekel temple tax, in order to perform the sacrifice. But oftentimes you'd have foreigners coming into the area, and oftentimes they'd have money that would either be Roman or from wherever they were coming from. And so, to exchange a half shekel, oftentimes you'd have to exchange your foreign money, for the Jewish money. And so, money changers would often capitalize on these people coming in because, well, for one, they're not actually supposed to, be on the temple grounds to exchange money, but they figure, oh, this would be a good place for me to put up shop because they have to come to this location anyways to do their sacrifice. And so for one thing, yeah, they're not really supposed to be there on the temple grounds. And then two, they could actually, charge whatever they want, to do their exchange rate. And so oftentimes they would take advantage of the poor and the foreigners coming into Jerusalem, for festivals like the Passover, to be able to, to be able to do their sacrifices. And then on top of that, then you'd also have, other people within the temple area that would have to look at your animal and make sure that it's, unblemished and good enough to sacrifice. And so, sometimes these people, they would, work together to say, oh, well, this one actually is, he's got a spot on it. So, really you need to buy a new animal from my friend over here, who's got, the proper animal for you. And, they could charge whatever they want, for those animals as well. And so, Jesus coming in, seeing this type of, shady business being performed, you could see how mad he could get, because they're not supposed to do all this. It's written in Mosaic law that, Exodus 22:21, thou shalt not vex a stranger or oppress him. You are strangers in the land of Egypt. Leviticus 19:33 through 34, if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, you should not vex him, but that stranger shall dwelleth with you, and be unto you, and be born among you, and you shall love him as thyself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. So, you're not supposed to take advantage of everybody else. And these people, certainly were doing so. So he cast them out. So from there, we're actually going to be heading to the Bethesda pool. And Bethesda is known for a couple things. We're going to see that up here once they catch up with us. So Bethesda is known for a healing pool that was present, and it's also the area where the prophet Isaiah prophesied the coming of the Virgin Mary. And so if somebody can read for me John 5, we're going to do 2 through 18. Oh, great. John 5. Okay, so here's the Temple Mount with the golden dome. And so, this is all the new wall that was built up, around, the city of Jerusalem. But of the actual Temple Mount, the only thing that really remains now is the Wailing Wall, the western wall. How are we doing?
Yeah, Trey Booker.
Okay, great. Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is great. Okay, so yeah, we were down here before. Now we're going to be heading up to the Bethesda pool. through the sheep gate? Okay, so John 5:2 through 18. Okay.
In Jerusalem by the sheep gate is a pool called in Aramaic Bethsaida, in which lay a crowd of invalids, blind, lame, and crippled. One man was there who had been ill for 38 years. Jesus, seeing this man and knowing that he had been there a long time, said to him, "Do you want to be healed?" The sick man answered, "I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is disturbed, and while I try to get in there, someone gets in ahead of me." Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." Immediately the man was healed, and he picked up his mat and walked. Now that day was Sabbath, so the Judeans said to the man who had been healed, "It's Sabbath, it's against the law for you to carry out your mat." But he answered them, "The man who healed me, he's the one who told me, pick up your mat and walk." And they asked him, "Who is this man who told you to pick it up and walk?" But the man who had been healed didn't know who it was, because Jesus had slipped away into the crowd. Afterwards, Jesus found him in the temple court and said to him, "See, you're well. Now stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you." The man went off and told the Judeans it was Jesus who had healed him, and on account of this the Judeans began harassing Jesus because he did these things on Sabbath. But he answered them, "My Father has been working until now, and I too am working." This answer made the Judeans all the more intent on killing him. Not only was he breaking Sabbath, but also by saying God was his own Father, he was claiming equality with God.
Great. Thank you. So yeah, it was. It's interesting. Can I actually have one more reader? Let's read Isaiah 7:14. Or I can read it probably. Isaiah 7:14. Therefore the Lord himself shall give unto you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. So Isaiah, he was actually in this area as well when he made this prophecy. And earlier in Isaiah 7, the area was described as the place at the end of the aqueduct from the upper pool on the road to the launderer's field, or fuller's field, depending on what translation you're reading. A launderer is a person who does work in washing, drying, and ironing clothes. So there's actually a couple pools that are up here. This is the upper end of the aqueduct. And Christian tradition also states that this is the area where Mary was later born and then raised by her parents Joachim and Anne. And they were known to have a dwelling in Jerusalem near the Sheep's Gate, which is right here, going up towards the pools. And so when John states that Jesus went to Jerusalem and saw this man who had been unwell for 38 years, and knowing that he had been there a long time, it's very possible that Jesus actually knew of this person when he was a child, and he was visiting his grandparents, who had their house here. And so when Jesus came back and he was a man and asked if he wanted to be well, rather than saying yes, what did he say? He said, "Oh, well, I always try to get to the pool, but somebody always gets there, before I can." And so Jesus basically, forget all that, get up and walk. And he walked. And then when that man was later addressed by the Jewish leaders and said, "Well, who are you to be carrying something on the Sabbath?" And his reply was, "Well, this guy, he told me I should do this." And both times, basically he's kind of blaming somebody else for what his current situation is. And when Jesus finally found him in the temple, he says, "Oh, you're well. Now stop sinning, or something worse may happen to you." Well, the sinning actually was his attitude. This is my situation. Somebody else put me into this situation. It's not my fault. Well, stop blaming people for what's happening to you. You should be praising God. And how often in our own lives do we get bogged down just based on what our attitude is with regards to our own situation. And speaking of attitude, it's interesting to know, that, when Jesus came to Jerusalem and he found this blind person, or the lame person, his intention was to heal. And do you remember when King David came to Jerusalem and basically encountered the blind and the lame? It was in 2 Samuel. It was several weekends ago, or several Wednesdays ago now. If you turn to 2 Samuel 5, 6 through 8, certainly there's a different attitude with David. 5, 6 through 8.
You want to read it?
Sure.
And the king and his men went to Jerusalem against the the Jebusites, and the inhabitants of the land, who spoke to David, saying, "You shall not come in here, but the blind and the lame will repel you," thinking, "David cannot come in here." Nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Zion, that is the city of David. How many verses?
Through 8.
Now David said on that day, "Whosoever climbs up by the water shaft and defeats the Jebusites, the lame and the blind, who are hated by David's soul, he shall be chief and captain." Therefore they said, "The blind and the lame shall not come into the house."
Great. Thank you. So, it's interesting how, when you're coming to a location, obviously you're going to find blind people and lame people. There's going to be a lot of different varieties of individuals. But, Jesus' intent was to come to heal. Looking back at King David, his intent was to conquer, was to overcome. And did David really hate the lame and the blind? Probably not.
Because
Yeah.
Jonathan's son
Yeah.
was lame.
That's right.
But then again, I think it's more so that he was keeping
Yeah. Yeah, there's certainly that possibility, out of respect to his friend Jonathan, that he would invite Mephibosheth to sit at his table.
Those spaces tended to be gathering places for people who had those types of physical disabilities or ailments.
Oh, for sure. Because, if this is thought to be a healing pool, that's where people that are unwell, are going to want to congregate. But, yeah, it's very possible that, with David's situation, it was likely just a schoolyard taunt. "Oh, you can't get in here. Even these people are going to be able to repel you." It's like, "Oh, well, I'll take them all down. I'll push anybody out of my way." But yeah, just interesting contrast because it's all the same location. And what's currently on the location of of this is they've actually built up the Church of St. Anne, and
In the top right corner.
in Anne? Oh no, that's the Lion of Judah. I found it. So the Church of St. Anne was built somewhere between 1131 and 1138. And it's Christian tradition that it was erected over the site of a grotto believed to be the childhood home of the Virgin Mary. And it's dedicated to Anne and Joachim, the parents of Mary, who lived in this location. Now, this church, it was constructed, it was constructed in a way so that, you know, the voices could carry, and, you know, if people were singing in it, you know, there's a lot of resonance within the church itself. And so it's actually a really beautiful place for choirs to come and basically and sing for others. And in fact, I don't know, hopefully this will work, but can we click on the YouTube link? Is that possible? Hit escape, and then it will open up and then you should be able to click on it. There you go.
Hey!
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing, there's only 10 of them, I think. You could hear it like they were.
Yeah, I mean, just the resonance within the, you know, the large cathedral ceilings, it was, you know, it's really magical, you know, to be there. So we attribute this location to be, the childhood home of Mary. And one of the pictures that I had was actually a statue of Saint Anne with Mary on her lap. And within her hand, she's holding this scroll from the book of Deuteronomy. And this would be book 6, verse 4 through 9, and I'll just read it. Listen, Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. These are the words that I'm giving you today, are to what you are to repeat to your children. Talk to them when you sit in your house and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them be a symbol on your forehead. Write them on the doorpost of your house and on your city gates. And so Anne taught her daughter Mary, who in turn taught Jesus, who in turn taught all of us. So, yeah, this is the statue here. So as you walk in, the statue's going to be on your left-hand side, which the video kind of passed over. But yeah, that's the scroll, Deuteronomy 6. And so from here, we're going to be heading to the Mount of Olives. And so if I can get a reader, Luke 19. There's going to be a lot of reading. A lot of things happened in Jerusalem. Uh, 1941 through 44. So, oh, go ahead.
When he approached Jerusalem, he saw the city and wept over it, saying, "If you had known on this day, even you, the conditions for peace, but now they have been hidden from your eyes. For the days will come upon you when your enemies will put up a barricade against you and surround you and them, and hem you on every side."
So the Mount of Olives is a mountain range directly east to the old city of Jerusalem, and it's named for the olive groves that once covered its slopes. It actually was first mentioned in the Bible in connection with King David's flight from his son Absalom, back in 2 Samuel. So, yeah, it's, of all these don't really show up all that well. But this is up on the mount looking towards the city of Jerusalem. And this is another closer view of the city here. It would have been nice to be in the city and taking a picture back on it, but typically the wall, you can't really see over the walls all that well once you get into the city. But yeah, this is the location here. And this, at least on this portion of the mount, they built another church. And this is the church of Dominus Flevit, which that's Latin for the Lord wept. And this is another church designed by Antonio Barluzzi. And this one's it's shaped as a teardrop to symbolize the tears of Christ, looking out at the city. And the present church is built upon the foundations of an earlier Byzantine church, which, like most churches, faced east towards the city. Or, yeah, actually, no, it'd be facing the other way, away from the city. And it wasn't until the Crusader period where they came in and they commemorated the location as to this is likely somewhere along this area is where Jesus had stood and gazed upon the city. Okay. It's currently 11 o'clock. Did we want to take a break for a bit? What's the plan for today's sermon? Music? Okay.
I don't know if any other guys have Justin might have something.
Okay. Well, I think we can take a break for now, and we'll